there is a pleasure of connected to working with tools that really don't want to listen to you and which really want to do their own thing.
Not all of them wanted to sing, apparently. Like, apparently some of them refused. They really kept like the lips shut and just like almost like this, while others really enjoyed it and were like, you know, moving like all their face to the music almost.
I was a lot thinking about what artificial intelligence is for me, how we are using it actually as like normal people in our everyday life, but also as artists. And then I was also thinking about which narratives we are using for artificial intelligence, and also that, I mean, many people who are not working a lot with artificial intelligence are always kind of afraid of it.
The most interesting thing about working with these tools is that sometimes they really feel alive. Like you're doing something and you're playing around with parameters and you're trying to generate a result that you have in mind, that you've written about, and then you're observing what is happening in the system, and there's this interesting kind of randomness and aliveness that you feel in this process.
Instead of having a real person having to always be like a presenter, an actor, they just have these avatars that should perform whatever you want them to perform. So of course it's super technical and like super specific tasks that they have to do, but I was really fascinated by actually what they are capable of doing. So then the more I was researching on the technological side of it, I saw that if you just decontextualize them from this marketing atmosphere, all of a sudden they have like a really interesting life of their own in a way. So then to put them in a different surrounding and atmosphere, it's just like, yeah, really to give them a tiny bit of life, if you say, if you speak like with big words, I don't know. Yeah.
From you working with something like Runway, it was very like about this like selective process, because you have so much material, and I think for this movie in the Runway file I have over 500 video generations, but you just have to select those that like decide, you know, it's like a lot of small decisions, and somehow like I'm feeling really satisfied with the work, like because somehow through this randomness, like personally I don't really believe in randomness, but like it came together that a lot of little accidents happened, that I got the visuals that made sense in a certain scene.
I thought it would be the more interesting to go into this glitchiness and try to write a story that really works well with this hallucinating eye of the systems.
I chose the medium drawing because it's the medium I work most with, so I feel super comfortable in it. And like working with AI was something really completely new, and so I felt like somehow safe to choose the drawing because that's something I know.
Yeah, so I think in the beginning of the process I was a bit afraid of like losing control over what I can create and how it will look and so on. But then I saw that actually there's something interesting about having this new tool of like for once, not to like know from the beginning how I want it to look in the end. And in a way, when you compare it to different videos that using like this kind of tools, so I have a lot of more control. But as a creator of like other animations and movies like in the past, I can say that I had so little control compared to what I'm used to. Because in the end, for example, it was almost like casting, because I was really testing many avatars to see how they perform the bits of sound I gave them. Now, some of them were not able to, to speak everyone can, but also then how you speak, how much you move, how interesting it is, the way you move your body and your facial expressions. So it's also to like really choose the ones that you have no idea in the first place who will do a good job, let's say. And then afterwards, the singing. Not all of them wanted to sing, apparently. Like, apparently some of them refused. They really kept, like, the lips shut and just, like, almost like this, while others really enjoyed it and were, like, you know, moving, like, all their face to the music, almost. So, yeah, so it's, like, a lot of like not a lot of control, but in the end control as a whole, let's say. So that's something that is like very different from real filmmaking, but at the same time, yeah, of course, I can say I directed it and I mastered it, and I, in the end, like moved around them and put them in specific places. Like, so it's a combination, I would say. I wouldn't say that it's like really to master them. Like I couldn't. Yeah, it was almost impossible. Like for the better and worse, because sometimes it was even more interesting what they gave me that I couldn't expect from the beginning. Let's say, yeah.
But I couldn't tell you like what was my like. I just like to create narratives, and I think narratives are a soft way to present ideas and thoughts to people, as opposed to like there's a a big political statement. It's like more like aggressive, and the narrative for me it's more like accessible, and for me it's like in general quite important in my art development and working to have it as accessible as possible without compromising like artistic integrity, you could say, like to have like a nice balance.
I wanted like to include or I wanted to create objects with this AI generator, and I was thinking about like which objects, and so I asked ChatGPT to get like some concrete ideas, and so my question was like which analog small objects will be replaced by AI in the future or like near future, and that's how I came up with the list. So this was my starting point, and I took random 11 objects out of this list, and I created them with Genie AI. It's online website, and so and I took like these 3D objects which were made by this AI machine, and for example like this key, car key, and the map and the telephone, and so things like that, and this imagery, like all of them were created by the AI.
I think from our group, mine was the most rigid in a way, because I had a script and like I did adjust it a little bit, but not that much. I think for me the interesting part was like some like accidents, not really accidents, but you know, like this randomness in the AI. I was just thinking about AI consciousness and was thinking about what if like how would AI experience the world, and then I was thinking maybe it would experience time very differently, like all at the same time, and so I like started to develop this world. I think it started more from like this world building, and then later on trying to create a story in this conceptual ideas.
Yeah, then I came up with this idea of the homunculus, which is a creature created through alchemy, and it shall be a little helper for humans, but also like kind of be a replicate of humans. And I found this really interesting also as a metaphor for artificial intelligence. And at the same time, so there's a second metaphor, and that is that actually a part in our brain is also called homunculus. So I thought about like there's this picture of a small homunculus in our heads, kind of seeing what we see, feeling what we feel, and therefore creating an inner picture, and also kind of processing maybe our subconscious. And then I thought like, okay, if we have these two homunculi, if we combine them, that's actually, maybe a point where we can rethink what artificial intelligence is and how we are influencing artificial intelligence, and on the other hand, how also artificial intelligence is influencing our being in the world and our thinking and consciousness.
So my work deals with a weird kind of AI management. It's basically a queer work romance story, but the romance is forced by an AI system.
I got all these 3D objects and I put them together in Blender, so it was really important for me to have like this finished single objects but really arrange them, and so this is like my part, like as an artist in this case, to put this already finished objects together to a composition. And I decided for this working like desk situation, and also now the person also comes in to really frame it as a working situation or non-working situation. Yeah.
That's an interesting aspect, non-working, because he's basically idle.
I think the first priority would be for me that it's a fun experience, like watching a Black Mirror episode, you know. I think it has the film has it's a little bit like a roller coaster, because it has a lot of different vibes, but it's like also going into disturbing directions, going into very funny directions.
It's a project that started from thinking about the golem, like as this Jewish mythology, and I just came to work on this because I was having a research about regarding AI and how it was in ancient times, and also concerning my religion. So it was interesting to see what kind of forms it had in the past. And then the more I read about it, the more I saw the interesting connections it has to AI, either on more metaphorical level or even more technical, even, let's say. That's why it's no surprise that the first computer that was used in Israel, in the Institute of Technology, the first one was called the Golem. There's many different interpretations of this mythology and this story. So either you can look at it as a fictional story completely, or even some are looking at this book of Kabbalah as more of a guidebook that you should really perform some kind of set of rules in order to activate an actual golem. So if you look at these rules, it almost sounds as if there's a connection to using a lot of sentences and constants and vowels, and at some point it just sounded as if it talks about coding, the language of code, and this kind of, to activate something. So it just sounded as if almost you have a set of rules to perform some kind of technological act, but at the same time you have a set of rules in the ancient myth to activate a golem. So it was a lot of linkage that I found really interesting.
In this case, I think my clear goal was just to deliver a nice narrative, and I didn't have the intention to address AI as a technology directly, but just to have it as a theme and have it as a element in the story, and using but in the process, actually, I think a lot of things came together organically, kind of.
I mean, I was creating these images with stable diffusion, and there really nice things happened I didn't expect, and then we were working with this program called Runway, and I was starting typing in some prompts with some ideas I had in my mind, but it always did something different. And then I started okay, what happens if I don't type anything in and just let the AI kind of create something by itself? And there these videos have been created, and I found that very interesting, and also thought about, okay, maybe this is then the subconscious of the AI, or the subconscious of someone whose data has been processed and finally ends in this video.
How to install it, and also how to mention the process which happened before without having a text next to it. And so we came up to actually print out, I can show you them now, to actually print out all the mesh, all the skins of the 3D objects, and I put them roughly together, so it's really a bit clumsy made, but I also picked randomly some of them. So for example, this is it's like now a bit like a haul. It's kind of really funny. That's everything in my bag, everything I bought, everything I made for this course. And I also played a bit with the sizes, as you can see. They're not life size. And then, yeah, I also choose again randomly 5 objects out of this 11 I had before. So the number of the objects are also getting smaller and smaller. And the title of the drawing is Pack deine 7 Sachen. So I think it's also nice that there is like this number 7 appearing, but there's no consistent number of the objects, but the number is always changing.
I have a personal experience of working for like a food delivery platform as a bicycle driver, and that experience was really very, very weird and interesting, kind of dehumanizing. So it inspired me to write this story where the AI system is controlling every aspect of a failing gym, and it manages the equipment, the people, the employees. It starts off by firing almost everyone but the owner, and I think we're moving into more of these, like we're moving as a society into this like model of AI management of everything. Like AI is in every app, and it's like kind of prompting us to do everything in stupid ways most of the time. So I guess that's why writing a story about that was interesting for me.
Hi, my name is Klaus Speidel. I've been doing an AI seminar at the University for Applied Arts in Vienna. The conversations you just saw were realized at the end of a 2-year-long process where we worked on artificial intelligence as a reality in society, as a reality in artistic creation, and in which we ended up focusing on filmmaking. And we first asked the question if AI film is just another tool in the toolbox of filmmakers, or it's a new medium. So is AI a tool to make films like before, or is AI film a completely new medium? And we didn't entirely come to a conclusion, even though we were tending towards the idea that it's really a new medium. But the moment when we really understood what's going on, or when I really understood what's going on, I was leading the seminar and the workshops, was when we started working with it and the students started to make AI films themselves. And what we realized is that there is a potential in AI film to make visuals and images and image sequences that the human would never have made. And that's one way to embrace AI film. So the marketing pitch is really, you will be able to make Hollywood films without a budget, without a cameraman, without crew members, without actors, right? But that's not, for me, the most interesting promise. I mean, it can be empowering, it can be democratizing, but it might also put a lot of people out of work. So it's not the utopian perspective. The more interesting perspective for me, and I think for most of us in the seminar, is really how you can create things with AI that a human would never have created. So how it becomes a completely new aesthetics, a new tool that, based on this new aesthetics, also brings in new thoughts, and thoughts that you wouldn't have thought otherwise without using these tools. There are 4 films that finally made it to the end, and that each chose a different way of dealing with the current AI, of also dealing with its limitations, and each corresponds to a different artistic quest. So also formally, they're very different. One is rather conceptual in its form, very strict. Another one varies the styles and is really about a more classical narrative. The third one is relatively eclectic in the visual material and has a classical narrative, but the style is not classical at all. And from this one, we're actually just showing a sort of pilot, and it will be coming out over the summer on social media. It will continue. It's a kind of mini series. And the fourth one is a kind of poetic, deep reflection of something like the subconscious of the AI, or the subconscious of those who created the AI. I hope you will enjoy the program. I hope you get a chance to see it. And we put together a little conversation with the different artists. And there's one fifth artist who chose not to work on film, but rather reflect AI in her traditional technique, which is drawing. I hope you enjoy this. Thanks.